There seems to be a lot of confusion around groups on public land and what is allowed. When do you have to have a permit? What's going on? Well, I've been in touch with a ranger at the Yuma field office for several years now and recently talked to them as early as yesterday. Stay tuned. I'll tell you what I know. So up front, let me be real clear. Of course, I am not your authority for public lands. You need to call the regional office for wherever you're camping, wherever you're thinking about holding a gathering. Right now, a lot of people happen to be gathered in around Quartzsite and Ehrenberg, and so in the video description and in the pinned comment, I'm going to list the number for the Yuma field office. In addition to that, because this video is about group gatherings and whether or not a permit is needed or when a permit is needed, you need to contact Officer Ray Castro. I first talked to him in 2016 because Bob, his RTR had gotten so big he knew he was going to have to start coordinating with BLM and getting a permit and whatever they said to do. And at the time he didn't have KC working for him, and so I helped him out and I contacted BLM and they put me in touch with Officer Ray Castro, and that's who I talked to yesterday. And here is what he has to say about group gatherings. Okay. All right, first of all, I want to address some things. I see different people that are saying, oh, you have to have, as long as you're not over 45 people, 50 people, 75 people, whatever. And that is not true. There is no set limit to what qualifies for having to have a permit. And I'll go into that in a moment. I also see a lot of people that are on this rant about it's our public lands, we can do whatever we want to. Well, no, you can't. You also pay taxes for roads, so the roads are also yours. Are you going to just say, well, I'm going to drive as fast as I want and you can't tell me what to do? Or I'm going to go down a wrong way and nobody can tell me not to do that. Or I'm going to ignore stop signs, red lights. I mean, it just amazes me, people that get on this tear that think that anarchy is okay. And I get that there is overreach sometimes. I get that. But that isn't the case with having to get a permit. And then people are like, First Amendment, we have a right to peacefully gather. They're not telling you can't gather. They're telling you where you can and when you have to have a permit. And there is good reason for that. In fact, I did a video one time called Who We Are and Who We Are Not. And I had a lot of people that tell me that I can't speak for nomads in general. And I get that. I'm not saying that I am defining who as nomads we are and who we're not, but I sure hope that if you watch that video you're in agreement with me that we're not people that are out here renting the land, renting the opportunity for future generations to take advantage of what we so freely are given. And I'm not speaking for nomads, but I hope that nomads in general, the people that I know, love this land, and we step up and we take better care of it than the locals for the most part. So when is a permit required? Well, some people have asked, if I'm going to go geocaching, if I'm going to go on a hike, if I am getting together for a picnic, or just a various number of reasons for the day, they're not so concerned with day use. They're more concerned with the number of people, and there is no set number. I got news for you guys. The authorities on this have the last say, and they are LEOs, law enforcement officers. And again, contact your local field office for BLM, National Forest, wherever you might be camping, and they are the authorities. There is no set number, and I'll tell you why, but they're concerned with the number of people, whether you're advertising or not, and I'll define that for you in a moment, and whether you're selling something or not. You know, some people are like, well, then that means you can't even have a sign of your YouTube name on your van or your RV or whatever. And that's not the kind of advertising they mean. Do they mean posting in Facebook groups and doing email blast or something like that? Yes, they do. And again, it's their discretion. So when I first talked to Officer Castro in 2016, because of course Bob was organizing on his forum, on his website then, and of course now he's blown past that and has thousands of YouTube subscribers and everything. But so clearly his is commercial and advertising, and he complies with the rules, laws, and regulations. But at the time, because he was posting on a forum, he wasn't even using social media. That even constituted advertising. Now, if you are, I asked, like, I think it was in 2017 when I was going to have my first meetup, I asked about the number, and I was going to be selling my books and all of that. And he's like, yeah, absolutely not on BLM land. And that's when he told me that the numbers don't matter. Because it depends on where you're going to be. For example, I'm clearly in the desert, and I'm in an area that I actually have a permit for right now. But they are stewards of this land. Maybe there is an area you don't know. It could even have a disease that they're trying to control. And trust me, you don't want to camp there if that's going on. I used to work for Texas Parks and Wildlife. And if we got a fungal infection or something in the trees, we closed off a section of the park until we got that under control for your protection. So you don't know what they're trying to control. Also, for example, if they let somebody like Bob or somebody on BLM land and that area was overrun and maybe there was damage, not damage as in people did damage, but just walking around, you're traipsing on vegetation, and the desert is so fragile. They may know that this particular area needs X amount of years before it can handle X amount of people, and they regulate that. So if you work with them, they might say, well, you can't have a permit for that area where you want to hold your group gathering, but you can go over here and hold your group gathering. And so I get, if you're one of these anti-anarchist, rebellious people that don't want to ever cooperate with the government, just click off now, because you're just ridiculous, and nothing I say is going to matter. But if you want to comply, and if you want to take care of this land, work with them, and maybe even tell them thank you for their service. So I will see if I can find the exact wording. And again, Officer Castro sent this to me a couple of years ago, actually, because I called him again. And when I called the office yesterday, they said, yes, he is still the contact, but he wasn't in the office, so I didn't get to talk to him. But they verified everything that I'm telling you today. But I am not your source. The Leos of whatever land you are camping on are your source. The wording is such so that they do have some leeway. If a family, for example, is getting together for a weekend and they're going to have maybe 20 people there, they probably will let that go. But if you're going to have 200 people there overnight, they might not let that go. And so it depends, and they are the stewards of the land. And I'm just amazed at all the people that make stuff up and say that they know what the deal is, and that, we can have this gathering because it's public land and we're not hurting anything, or no, you can't. And and if you're wondering, call. They're your authority. And if I were you, I wouldn't go to an event that wasn't vetted. In other words, that had not coordinated with the local, maybe local. Sometimes the sheriffs enforce the rules for public lands. But I wouldn't even go to an event that had not been approved by the public land agency. Does that make sense? And I know that I may be stepping on some toes right now, but it's getting out of hand. And there are so many of us out here on the road right now, and times are getting harder, and more people are going to come out here and do what we do. And I believe that it is up to us, especially those of us that have been out here. This is my 6th winter on the road full time. And I started off in my van, and now I'm in my RV. And yes, most everywhere I camp, I contact the public land field office to see what the new rules are. And if you're not doing that and you're a veteran out here, you're doing all of us a disservice. And if you're not teaching the newbies that, you're doing them and future generations a disservice. So cut it out, you knuckleheads. Cut out the conspiracy theory. Cut out making up stuff. call your local field office. That's it. I'm over and out. See you down the road. Hi, Raven.